Hi class, hope everybody is safe and well. In this video, we talk about finger picking, and this relates to chapter 11 in the Disler book, and this is a requirement. One of the last things we do in Guitar 1 is talk about finger picking and some patterns and concepts, the names of the fingers and how they apply to finger picking patterns. So when we talk about brushing or picking and the concepts we've done so far, we're picking multiple strings at the same time and not skipping any strings. We're going through a stack of vertical notes on the page if they were written in tablature or music notation. And this fingerstyle technique is the way classical guitar players play on nylon string guitars, but it's also a technique we see throughout the musical world that guitar is involved in. Folk music, blues, rock, all sorts of styles, jazz, it can be applied. Generally on a steel string guitar, though, you may see players using picks on their fingers that are actually made of plastic or metal. And classical guitar players tend to play with their nails. And I'll talk a little bit about hand position and nail shape in this video as well. So let's just review what Disler talked about in chapter 1, which was the names of the picking fingers, with P being thumb, I being index, M being middle, and A being ring. And you'll notice some of the letters don't match up with English. They come from Spanish words and pronunciations that harken back to the first, we could call them classical guitar method books coming out of Spain. So what I want you to know is the English: P, thumb, I, index, M, middle, A, ring. And we don't use the pinky for plucking. It is done in some instances, but it's not really the, we could say, the norm or the normal way finger picking is taught. Once a player becomes advanced, they can try and do and work in different techniques. The pinky is sometimes used to brush the strings, but generally not to pluck the string. So once we have the P, I, M, and A idea, we want to talk about assigning them to their job. Now, these are not rules that are unchangeable or infallible rules. These are rules that are a basic way to start playing chords on classical guitar or any other style of guitar when you're finger picking. And that is that the thumb, its job is going to be to play the root string, either 6, 5, or 4. So if I'm playing a G chord, my thumb will play the 6th string. If I'm playing an A chord, A minor, A7, doesn't matter, my thumb is going to play the 5th string. If I'm playing a D chord, my thumb is going to play the 4th string. And so this is a variable. Thumb is the variable. This is my bass player, and it's moving from string to string. So just as if you were going to do a bass chord or a root chord technique with your pick, your root string is the one that's going to be plucked by your thumb. And then the fingers are basically assigned to individual strings, and they stay on those strings. Again, this is just a basic starting concept. It's not a rule that can't be changed up and experimented with. So index, if you think of the way, and I'll come closer here, if you think of the way the fingers line up as you hold your hand and relax your hand, the thumb is going to work on the bass strings. My index finger, index, is going to stay on the G string, and my ring finger is going to stay on the B string, number 2, and the A finger, the ring finger, is going to stay on the high E. So my fingers line up, and they play 3 index, 2 middle, and 1 ring. And then my thumb is going to move from string to string. As far as the hand position goes, if I have my foot up on the footstool, my guitar will be lifted up this way, and my forearm is going to rest on the edge of the guitar, and my hand's just going to relax with my knuckles over the strings. So I don't want my knuckles back here over the top of the guitar on the upper bout or down here on the lower bout. I want my knuckles right over the strings they're going to play. And if we change the angle a little bit, my fingers are going to be right over, my knuckles are going to be right over the strings they play. So not this way and not this way. And the next important thing is to think about how your finger is going to move. I'm going to plant my finger and play through with the whole finger moving. Notice all three joints are moving, and that knuckle joint that's attached to my hand is moving. I'm not plucking this way, where I'm just pulling up with middle and tip joint. I'm going to get a bad sound that way. I don't want the string to vibrate this way. I want the string to go into the guitar and vibrate back and forth. And you can hear the difference in tone. Notice I let my other fingers follow sympathetically when working on one string. And then we talk about relaxing. So I plant, I play, and relax. Plant, play, and relax. Plant, play, and relax. The relaxing is important. I don't want to leave my fingers curled up. I want to be able to relax the fingers down and get them right back into position so that I can play patterns. So notice when I play, the fingers just relax back into position. The planting is done on the side of the fingertip. So if I make a little line where the string is, you can see how it's on an angle and it's on the side. And I'm going to play on that side and use my nail as a ramp. Now, again, you're not required to have nails for this class, but if you want to experiment with this technique, I'm riding my fingertip. My nail shapes match my fingertip. So if you have a more tapered, pointed finger, you can point your nail a little bit more. Mine are kind of rounded, so I have a little ramp and a rounded nail to go off my finger. So I plant my finger, pushing the flesh against my nail, and then I leave off the nail. And you could try this without nails, definitely will work. And you'll get a warmer sound. You won't get that kind of bright release, but that's fine. And again, you can determine how far you want to get into this kind of technique and if you want to add a nail or a pick to your finger. I will say that if you do a lot of finger picking on the steel string guitar, you're going to wear any kind of nail away pretty quickly. And that's why you see steel string players possibly playing with some picks on their fingers and thumb. And that would be including players like banjo players too, who do a lot of finger picking. Okay, so having said that, just to review, P, thumb, plays 6, 5, and 4, depending on the bass string. Index plays just the third string. M plays just the second string. And A plays the first string. So that's really the first couple of pages in the Disler chapter 11. And on the third page, she gives a list of picking patterns, some more advanced than others. I'll point out a few that I think are really helpful to start with. And one is number 1, where you have P, I, M, and A. This is on an E minor chord, so that's why I'm able to do it without holding down the E minor chord right now, because again, the rule is the thumb is playing the root of the chord, and then I play 3, 2, and 1, which are open strings in this case. So again, if I bring it a little closer here and hold my guitar up, I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4 finger letters, P, I, M, A, P, I, M, A, strings, 6, 3, 2, 1. Strict 6, 3, 2, 1. That's picking pattern number 1. And then it's doubled in eighth notes, which is pretty common and is mentioned in the text as well. If we just play one note per beat, if you kind of think of that compared to strumming like that, all 6 notes, I get a much fuller sound strumming than if I played one note per beat. So what we often do in these patterns is we play 2 notes per beat. 1 and 2 3, 2, 1, P-I-M-A, 6, 3, 2, 1, P-I-M-A. And then again, she does show some more intermediate patterns here. And when I am addressing an intermediate pattern or giving that label, it's because she's doing some different exchanging between like the middle and ring finger. For example, pattern number 3 is P-I-M-I-A-I-M-I. A little bit more advanced when I'm skipping strings and playing the index and ring finger back to back like that. So I would say pattern 1 and 2 out of this chapter are great to start with. Pattern 5, which is bass, chord, bass, chord. So if I was doing that and I went to a C chord, I'd have 5, 3, 2, and 1. 5, 3, 2, and 1. 6 for E minor. 3, 2, and 1. G chord, 6. D chord, 5 in the bass, or 4 in the bass, excuse me, 4 for the D string. And then C chord, 5 in the bass, and I'm plucking the top 3 strings the same way every time. And notice I'm not bouncing off the guitar either. I don't want this kind of moving away from the instrument. That's not really the plucking direction I want to go, first of all, pulling the strings off the fretboard or away from the fretboard. But I also will have to reset every time. If I can keep my hands still and quiet, then again, I relax and I'm ready to go and play the next group of strings. She also shows that same pattern with an alternating bass idea. In this case, I do have to hold the chord down. And that would be like a special bass note as she refers to it. 6 in the bass, and then alternating bass for an E chord is a B, found on the 5th string, and that's a pattern that she shows there. Again, there's some mixing around. Another helpful one, I think, to start off with, and again, these work great just on open strings. Even if you're not holding a chord and you want to practice playing a 5th or 4th string bass note, you can do something like 6, chord, 5, chord, 4, chord, 5. Great exercise to get your thumb used to moving. Or you could take that first exercise and move your thumb, or do a full measure of the same bass note. Okay, so you can practice those type of techniques. The one I was just going to mention is bass, chord, and then the 8th notes. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 6, 3, 2, 1, and then 6, 3, 2, 1, 6, 3, 2, 1, 6, 3, 2, 1. There is a couple of great suggestions here for 3/4 time too, and I'll demonstrate one in another video where I play a couple of pieces from this chapter, and that is the 3/4 time, where you have this really nice 8th note pattern of thumb, index, middle, ring, middle, index. So I'm not doing any skipping of fingers. I'm going up to the higher sound and back down. I'll demonstrate green sleeves in a following video using that technique. And then thumb, bass, thumb for the bass, chord, chord. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So those are 2, 3, 4, or even 6, 8 patterns. That's number 10, and that's number 11. Okay, we'll stop there, and we'll add a couple of pieces to demonstrate the technique. Have a great day.